Part 198. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1976. What's at the end of the East? Have no idea. What does the land that is rich in silk and tea and grows rice look like? Have no idea. Has no one been there for so many years? Some people have been there in ancient times. Later, when they went there again, they could no longer be found, even if legend personally explored it, even if legend level 3 personally explored it, no one could reach it. Gretel asked this question more than once. I asked the teacher, asked every legend in the Magic Council, and asked every magician who studies and records history. I have asked the elders of the natural deism, the elves, the dragons, and even the cardinals of the Holy See. However, all the answers were almost unanimous. No one knows anymore. The road leading there was broken. It was broken a long, long time ago. But Gretel was unwilling to give in. That's the East, that's the East. Every time he ate a mouthful of rice, every time he drank a sip of tea, every time he saw or put on a piece of silk clothing, he couldn't help but think to himself. That's my hometown. Maybe not the motherland. Maybe it's completely different from the mountains and rivers in my memory. Maybe, you can't hear the same local accent, you can't see the same words, and even, in addition to humans, there are also a large number of monsters and monsters living in that land. However, it is still my hometown, a hometown that I can never go back to, and can only look at from a distance in my dreams for comfort. Sarala, I want to explore the east side, will you go with me? Time passes day after day, year after year. Ava grew up, Ori grew up, and the children behind them also grew up. The children started their own families and started businesses. Some of the disciples became legends, and some even died before them. As time goes by, finally, only legends like them, only immortals like them, watch the world day after day. And Gretel also advanced from the legendary primary level to the legendary third level. The Magic Council already has nearly 100 legends, and its sphere of influence has expanded to the entire continent, even the North and South New Continents and the Black Continent. Elves, orcs, barbarians, and dwarves began to walk freely in this world again, just like they did thousands of years ago. Going east? Where's Oak Grove Hospital? You don't care. Sarala seemed to be smiling but not smiling, her wonderful eyes were moving. She knew how much Greet cared about his hospital. She spent 24 hours a day, at least 8 to 10 hours, in the hospital, and the affiliated medical school. When there is a major epidemic or major accident in the city, he will even spend 12 to 14 hours a day in the hospital. Coordinate manpower, direct rescue operations, and dispatch supplies. From time to time, I have to travel around the country and visit Oak Grove Hospital branches all over the country and even around the world to mentor local healers. Gretel's entire face visibly stiffened. After hesitating for a moment, he spread his hands. Leave it to Ashu. Anyway, all the things I know have been handed over to him, and he can fully support himself. Besides, the current Oak Grove Hospital is already full of his children. After Gretel entered the legend, Ashu began to produce a special kind of golden acorns at a rate of 1 every 10 years. The translucent golden acorn stores a large amount of knowledge and skills, various human structures, examination methods, treatment techniques, and so on. As long as a high-level nature priest takes this acorn to another place, plants it according to the unique method of the nature order, quickly encourages it to grow, and then enlightens it into a tree man, this new oak tree can become a tree. The core of the branch. Give exams, treat patients, teach students. Even a treeman, who is guaranteed to be above level 10, can act as a light source by himself and do X-rays, CT scans, etc. for urban civilians without having to ask anyone. With the tree like this, Greet found that he actually didn't need to be too nervous. Then what are you asking? Pack your things and let's go. But, Sarala, I'm worried about you. This journey may be difficult and dangerous. The explorers who have set foot on this road before, even if they are the legendary third level, have either returned without success, or, they will never, did not return. His voice became lower every sentence. Sarala's eyes narrowed little by little, and her moist silver blue eyes turned into silver vertical pupils, full of threats. You don't want to go with me. I don't want to. Sarala, I want to be with you at any time. Gretel raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. But Sarala, it's very dangerous there, very, very dangerous. I don't want anything to happen to you, not even a little bit. Then I want to go with you too. Sarala rushed forward and hugged him tightly. At this moment, this female silver dragon who already had several children was as enthusiastic as the girl when they first met. Don't even think about leaving me. 3 months later, after making all preparations, Greet began to head east. They walked from Nevis to the royal capital, crossed the sea from Hall Strait, and then followed the Brolin Kingdom and the Rhine Kingdom all the way east to the Orc Kingdom. The towering Emerald Palace has been buried in the wind and sand, and the royal capital of the Orc Kingdom has been moved hundreds of miles away. Beyond this country and continuing eastward, we reach the remote and desolate Gobi Desert. So far. So far. So far, so far, so far away. Sarala has sighed countless times. They started by riding the phantom pony, then switched to the dragon flying technique, and later, they simply appeared in dragon form and flew side by side. It feels like I have been flying for a long time. I should have arrived when I flew from Yongju Island to Long Island. The ground is still an uninhabited desert, Gobi, desert, Gobi. Looking down, I saw everything was yellow and bleak. If you go down and take a look, you will see that within a few hundred miles, there are no rivers, no lakes, not even a speck of green. They are all mountains, mountains, towering mountains, split canyons, and when the wind blows, rocks the size of fists and heads will roll all over the ground. Not to mention humans, in this place, even weeds can't take root, and even birds can't fly. Why is it so far away, Greet? Are we heading in the right direction? It should be, right. Gretel felt a little unsure and looked up at the sky. Only by correcting the direction towards the sun at noon every day, could he be sure that they were heading east. Maybe we shouldn't go in this direction? According to past calculations, the Earth is spherical, and we can still walk west. This book is updated on the last day. Everyone, try your best to throw away some monthly tickets and say goodbye to this book. It's the last month, please let this book get 2,000 votes. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1977. Going west? Impossible. Sarala shook her head. Many tribesmen have walked to the west, but they can't go there, they can't go there at all. To the west is the endless sea, the endless sea. Even if you fly for 1 year or 2 years, you can't reach the end. And the further you go to the west, the farther you go. Dangerous. Flying to the farthest and farthest place, the waves were monstrous, and the barrier formed by the strong winds and waves stretched to the sky and the earth, sealing the entire ocean. Even the strongest and most powerful dragon will try its best to sail through the wind and waves. In the end, it will exhaust all its strength and sink to the bottom of the sea exhausted. Either it was swept back by the ocean current, or it sank silently in the wild waves and whirlwind. Oh, then we have to keep walking. Gretel squinted his eyes and looked in the direction of the sun. Alas, the size of this world has exceeded his imagination, and even exceeded the diameter of the earth calculated by the astrology branch of the prophecy system through various calculations before he set off. At the speed at which he and Sarara were flying, they had circled the earth more than twice in 2 years. Why hadn't they arrived yet? Did they walk into some illusion? Or, did you walk into a formation that was infinitely stretched and magnified? Or, someone placed a huge different dimension between the two continents of the world? Walk through the Gobi, walk through the desert, fly over the canyons, and climb over the mountains. I've been gone for 6 months, I've been gone for a year, I've been gone for 2 years. The long journey is almost endless. Just when Greet was exhausted and was about to discuss turning back with Cyrilla, he saw the end of the extremely distant land reflected in a pool of clear water that looked like a curved hook. Greet and Cyrilla flew over happily. The curve of the clear water is about 2 acres in circumference. It is crystal clear from a distance, and there are large tracts of various weeds growing on the edge. Artemisia, splendens, 7-star grass, and all kinds of wild grasses sway in the wind, and the flowers bloom into a sea. At the edge of the sea of flowers, wild donkeys and wild horses lower their heads to chew, sand rabbits sneak out to drink water, and sand foxes jump up. There's a lake. Finally there's water. Cyrilla screamed in joy and swooped down. Gretel smiled and followed her, slowly falling. Seeing her getting closer and closer to the lake, getting closer and closer, but no matter how close she is always just this little bit short. Cyrilla is back. There is something strange in this lake. Gretel shouted, raising his voice. At the same moment, Cyrilla fluttered her wings, drew an extremely steep U-shaped arc, passed over the lake, and rose straight up. She circled twice and fell down, still in shock. Greet, this lake. Yes, I saw it. Greet held her palm with his backhand, and they stepped on the desert. A flat piece of sand formed under their feet, calling out a gust of wind, blowing them closer to the lake. This time we approached from the ground, and finally there was no obstacle and we reached the lake very smoothly. The two stood side by side, looking down at the lake. They saw a stone tablet sleeping at the bottom of the blue lake, and a few lines of golden handwriting burned into their eyes. Travelers from the west, please turn back. There was no way to get through, and I tried my best to not get out of the sea of sand. The legendary mage, Eros Reiner, year 359 of the magical calendar. Ah, can't you make it through? Cyrilla stared at the stone monument in the lake for a long time, pursed her lips tightly, and wanted to reach out to grab a handful of lake water. She stretched out her hand several times and then retracted it several times. After a long time, Greet asked softly. Are you still leaving? Let's go. I've heard of this guy. He's just a low-level legend. We can definitely go further than him. Cyrilla gritted her teeth and said. Greet nodded slightly, knelt down on one knee, took a small bottle of water from the lake, held Cyrilla's hand, and left without looking back. They kept going forward. Walking towards the direction of the rising sun, we walked through the endless sea of sand, through the Gobi with strange rocks that looked like a city, and through the barren mountains covered with dry and cracked sand but without any water source. Finally, in front of Greet and Cyrilla, a giant peak towering into the sky rose from the ground. Under the giant peak, there is a small mountain, or, in other words, a stone wall that can be called a hill. Bloodstains are dripping on it, almost flying out of the stone surface, and deeply carved into the depths of the stone wall. Look back. Visitors from the west, look back. Such a powerful aura. Greet and Cyrilla held hands tightly, looked up at the stone wall, and looked at the writings on the stone wall that have not been erased for 1,000 years, maybe 2,000 years. This bloodstain, legendary level 3, at least legendary level 3, maybe even stronger. Did he be killed here, or was it a strong man from level 3 legend who used his own blood to write such a warning? Are you still going forward? This time, the person asking the question was Cyrilla. Gretel moved his eyes away, looking up at the towering mountain peak, looking at the flowing clouds inlaid on the mountainside, stretching out his fingers to measure the sunlight, and silently calculating the height of the mountain peak in his heart. I still want to go. At least, I want to climb up and have a look at this mountain. I want to go over the mountain and have a look. Maybe, standing on the top of the mountain and climbing over the ridge, we can see the hometown that haunts him in his dreams. Now that we are all here, I really can't reconcile myself to it. Okay, then I'll go with you. Cyrilla shook his hand without hesitation, transformed into her original form, unfolded her dragon wings and soared. Just when I flew in front of that mountain, I heard an oops and was forced to land. So strong. So strong. That high mountain seems to have a strange magic power. It is forbidden to fly, so you can only go up step by step. Gretel and Sarah climbed up side by side. At first, they could still rely on the legendary powerful body to jump up slowly. After climbing through a layer of cloud belt, I felt that most of my physical strength had been weakened, and I could only climb up step by step. Climbing through the second layer of cloud belt, the two people walked with unprecedented difficulty. After so many years, Gretel finally felt that he had returned to the mortal era again, back to the time when he had just met Sarah, sweating profusely and climbing up outside the dragon cave. Beyond the third layer of clouds, a small inscription appeared in front of the two of them again. This time the stele is extremely small, only 1 foot in diameter. The text above is not a magic seal, nor is it written with the blood of a strong man, but is chiseled on the stone tablet with the simplest chisel. Visitors from the west, please turn back. The road ahead is cut off. Speaker of the Magic Council, Suarez Moser, year 158 of the magical calendar. The road ahead is cut off. The road ahead is cut off. Sarah, can you go back first? Gretel panted heavily and shook Sarah's hand hard. Silver dragon scales appeared and disappeared on Sarah's cheek, then disappeared and reappeared. Finally, she shook her head firmly. I'll accompany you. Wherever you go, I'll go. Okay. Let's climb a little further until we reach the cloud belt above. After another layer of clouds, Greet stood on the top of the mountain, looking into the distance, speechless for a long time. In the direction where the sun rises, between the sea of clouds, there is a layer of colorful rays of light floating like a veil. Above the sky, below the Jedi Age, spreading to the left and right, to the end of the horizon, blocking their gaze to the east. The rays of light are changing and wandering in no direction. If you look at it carefully, it seems to be written. Greet stared at it for a long time. In the dazzling sunshine, he moved his lips and read word by word quietly. The ancient sage king's ultimate heavenly power made gods and men not interfere with each other, without any degradation. However, the floods overflowed, and the birds and beasts ate people. I mourned for the people and set up a 9 tripod to anchor the 9 provinces. I cast the shapes of birds and beasts on the tripod so that the people could recognize them. Copy the map of the 4 seas and 8 wastelands to bring order to the world. Sealing the sky and the sea. The sky is sealed and the sea is sealed. Gretel stared at the glowing gauze curtain in front of her, tears streaming down her face. Sealing the sky and the sea. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. It's not that difficult to open a hospital in another world, right? Author, Geoland 2020. Chapter 1978. Finally, the book is finished. When I typed these 4 words, I thought I would be filled with emotion, but in fact I felt nothing. Maybe Kat is not a very emotional person, maybe it's because I'm tired after writing for so long. Well, it took a long time to talk. From the upload on April 1, 2021, to the completion on November 30, 2023, it will be 2 years and 8 months, or in other words, 32 months. The total number of words is 5.24 million, with an average of 5,000 words per day, which means that it fluctuates between 4,000 words per day and 6,000 words per day. In 32 months, except for the few days of COVID-19, I basically never asked for leave. And all the extra updates were paid off in one go. The cat is so hard-working. Isn't it that difficult to open a hospital in another world? This is the second V-book written by Mau at Kidian. Considering that the first full-time Master World Invitational fanfic was written purely for personal interests, Hospital should be regarded as the first commercially written novel, right? The first order was 590, and the final order was 5,200. It's not particularly good, but it's not particularly bad either. I originally thought it could go higher, at least to 6,000, which is the so-called high-end product. However, the further it went, the harder it became to grow, and it still didn't go up. This wish for a great masterpiece will probably only come true after finishing this book. But fortunately, the original intention of writing, to make money, has been realized, and the average monthly income is probably the same as before Mau was laid off, not taking into account social security issues. In December 2022, because I had a guide in November, I earned a particularly high income. My mother was very happy to know. Later, after the mother left, the father secretly told the cat that the mother felt relieved that her daughter could support herself and that she would not be afraid of any storms or bumps in the road. The cat is so happy, the cat is so sad, the cat wants to hug her mother again. One thing to say, this article is not particularly well written. It stumbled from the beginning, the rhythm was very poor. I regret that I didn't listen to the editor's guidance and did not revise the article several times before publishing it. There were also problems with the character creation, and the plot also had many poisonous points. However, it is still liked by many people. Thanks to Fleet Master Shu, a professor of medicine, who has provided a lot of technical guidance for cats. He is very patient and good at teaching. Thanks to Red Comet Mars for providing many technical guidance in science. Thanks to Book Friend ONI for providing the name and character of Miss Sarara. Thanks to Lee for providing the Nki account. Cat was a big help in checking information and papers. Thanks to Wan Muqianzhang, for helping cats check out a lot of information about plant pollution control. Thank you Ling Yayuluan, the song you wrote for little Gretel, the cat has always treasured it. Thanks to Book Friend 201909301820286644, Bearded Man Holding Kingni and Minjio, you drew so many cute pictures for little Greet and others. The cats are all collected. There are many readers, some of whom started when the book was published, and some who joined in halfway and have been accompanying the cats, encouraging them, and chatting with them. My cat, who writes articles full-time and stays at home, has no mental problems because of your company. Thank you for spending 2 years and 8 months with the cat, every happy day and every sad day. After the mother left, the cat cried in the group every day. Thank you for always hugging the cat, comforting the cat, and providing the big foxtail to wipe the cat's tears. Thanks to all the authors of this book. The Strong Sea Monster, Night Dream Ice, Mars the Red Comet, Bugfield, Tiger Riding the Pig, Taoism, Like a Black and White Silent Movie, Cat Mouse, Bendashu, Uncle He Is So Tired and Wants to Retire, Platinum Tower, Yanju, Scarlet Sea, Mr. Chun, My Wife is the Most Beautiful in the World. Thank you to all the readers who have read this book, subscribed to this book, written reviews for this book, drawn pictures for this book, voted for this book and rewarded this book in the past 2 years and 8 months. Catbows. Meow meow meow. Let's talk about the ending of this book. The completion of the book has been planned long ago. Through Greet's family, we will lead out the Holy See, and then bulldoze the Holy See, the boss, to complete the book. So the ending of the Hall Strait Agreement was already planned, and the cats were not kidnapped, well, nod. However, considering that the whole process of threatening each other, and maybe some fighting, should be written out, it would take a long time, and cats are not good at this, so I just threw an ending and ended it. Total war is impossible. The emergence of legends is not easy. Losing one is a loss of human heritage, so in the end we have to compromise and develop slowly. And, Little Greet's Eastern adventure, the cat hesitated for a long time whether to let him reach the east. But, if he is not allowed to arrive, the cat cannot bear it and will not give in. Let him go. The setting of the east, the comparison of the strength of the east and the west, there will be a lot of things. So that's it. Let Little Greet stand in front of the world barrier and see the handwriting left by the predecessors. The entire Eastern world was sealed by the Jedi Tiantong to seal the boundaries between gods and humans, and the communication between the East and the West was cut off by sealing the sky and the sea. If you want to go through something, at least with Little Gretel's current level, the legendary third level is definitely not enough. If you work harder, and reach the demigod stage, or the true god stage, maybe you can try to rush. However, it is impossible to break the barrier with force. Little Gretel is not that kind of character. But when that time comes, maybe a cub like Little Gretel, whom the world loves, will be able to find a way to get through. So I'll stop here for now. It's an open ending. Maybe Little Gretel's strength will increase again, and she will try to cross the boundaries of the classic of mountains and seas sealing the sky and the sea, and go back and take a look. Of course, it is also possible to go to the starry sky with Cyrilla, to find the real way home. Speaking of the next book, if the next book is not rejected by the editor, it should be the story of the modern Earth, the East, and the barrier of sealing the sky and the sea disappears, or is damaged, it should be. Maybe an urban light fantasy. But the editor rejected it twice, saying that it was difficult to write and that urban superpowers are easy to be banned from books. The cat was trembling. But this is something that will cause headaches in the future. After writing this book, Cat will have to rest for a few months no matter what, play games and travel to his heart's content. Then he will collect information, study benchmark works, open the book, and make an outline. No matter what, I won't be able to start writing a new book until March or April next year at the earliest, right? Anyway, goodbye. Thank you for your companionship over the past 2 years and 8 months. See you all in the next book. The cat swung its claws hard. Wave your little paws with pink meatballs, wag your tail, and say goodbye to everyone. Everyone should also like cats in the next book.